A lot of times there are certain practices that don't always rest on the highest level of authentic hadith. However, these actions are very noble, they're very rewarding, and something that we ought to do. So for instance, you'll see some ahadith saying that on the day of Ashura, whoever spends on his family, Allah will spend on them the entire year. And many ahadith of this nature. And anyone who studies hadith will tell you these ahadith may not be very strong and they may be weak. However, our attitude towards ahadith that encourage certain types of actions that are already established in the deen, established in the sharia, even if we don't practice it on that particular day, we should draw inspiration from it for the rest of our lives. So I'll give you an example. If there's a hadith that says you should spend on your family on the day of Ashura, and I feel that, you know what, I'm not too convinced by the authenticity, I want to avoid this practice, maybe it's not something I should do, that's fine. However, don't let that be an excuse for you not to be generous. I want to repeat this again. Sometimes, because of our laziness, we don't do certain ibadah. Because of our stinginess, we don't give some sadaqah. Because of our weak-mindedness, we don't aspire for greater things. But then we try to guise it, we try to garb it, we try to hide it with a religious justification. So even if I don't want to spend on this day because I'm not convinced, that's fine. However, tomorrow, the day after, next week, let me still spend on my family, because the concept of spending, particularly on one's family, is something extremely rewarding. So the main lesson here is, a lot of times you'll see someone, so for instance, a person is sitting down and you ask him, what are you doing? And you'll say, I'm reading this many times of tasbihat or adhkar. And you'll say, brother, you know, this is not established from the deen. All right, fine. You don't want to do that tasbih, fine. But in your free time, are you doing the tasbih that is sunnah, the tasbih Fatimi? Sometimes a person will say, oh, you know what, this salah that you're praying before this salah or that, you shouldn't do it, it's not right. All right, fine. But is tahajjud something that's established? Am I practicing on it? So whenever I think about things we call bid'ah, wrong, culture, that's fine. That's part of the deen, that we try to avoid things that are inappropriate. However, let me not make those same behaviors an excuse for me not to do ibadah. And it happens very often. Somebody would say, oh, it's just sunnah, or oh, you know, it's not fard, or I already did it, or why do we have... When we get into that attitude, when we start beating around the bush, or they say cutting and trimming the edges, before you know it, you'll have nothing left. I'll just give one example, and then we'll wrap up. On a particular occasion, a person, he goes to, you know, he feels very, you know, inspired. He sees his friends, they all have tattoos. They all have tattoos, so he says, you know what, I want a tattoo as well. I want a tattoo as well. So he goes to the person who makes the tattoo, and he sits down, and he asks him, what tattoo do you want? He says, you know what, because all my friends are very fierce, and they're very courageous, and they're all cool, I want a tattoo of a big lion on my back. So he says, okay, fine, you want a tattoo of a lion on your back? Okay, let's go ahead. So the person, if anybody knows how tattoos work, it hurts a lot, it burns, because they're actually putting ink into your body. So this person, he's starting to draw the figure of the lion. So he asks him that, is everything okay? He's like, okay, start. He starts, and he's like, you know what, that hurts. He says, what are you doing? He says, I'm writing the tail. He said, all right, fine, make a lion without a tail so there'll be less pain. Say, okay, no problem. So then he's writing, like, stop, what's happening? He says, I'm writing the legs. So he says, oh, no, forget it. Make the lion without the tail, without the legs, will be a little bit more comfortable. And then he's writing, he says, what are you writing? He says, whatever you're writing, it's hurting my back. He says, no, I'm writing the mane and the head. He's like, okay, I want a lion without the tail, without the legs, without the mane, and without the head. The guy said, get out of my shop, you're wasting my time. My teacher always used to give this example to say, sometimes, you know, we're saying, okay, this is sunnah. Okay, you know what, that is not right. Or, you know, this is too much. Before you know it, you're going to look at your deen and you have nothing left. So sometimes doing a little bit extra helps to preserve and serve as a buffer for the core tenets of our faith. At any rate, I apologize for taking longer than usual. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspire us to follow those sunnahs and those actions that are beloved to Him. And may we never use a religious justification for our own laziness. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Jazakumullah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.